And good evening and welcome to another edition of Sports Corner. My name is Ralph Williams. We're waiting for Smokin Jim Frazier, and we're also waiting for Harry the Greek, who will also be on with us. Right now, I have Ray FIDIPALDO in the waiting room, and I'm going to get Ray up here right now. Ray is the reporter for the Post-Gazette and also handles, he's the Steelers end of the beat. He's a beat reporter for the Post-Gazette that handles the Steelers. Ray, welcome back to the program. It's great to have you.
What's up, Ralph? How are you tonight?
I'm doing real well. My question to you right now is what's going on? I see the Steelers dug deep into some free agency here. My question to you is, being that they dug deep into free agency, does that give them more flexibility in the draft?
Absolutely, it does. So what they did, they shored up a few positions where they didn't have starters. They re-signed Larry Ogunjobi. They got themselves a new starting left guard, presumably with Isaac Seumalo. They shored up certain positions, so they're not going into the draft knowing that they have to draft certain positions. So this sets them up to have their board. If there's a defensive lineman at 17 that they love, fine, they can do that. If there's an offensive tackle that they love at 17, they could do that. And, of course, the other position everyone's talking about, if there's a corner at 17, they could do that as well. So, Patrick Peterson was signed. They signed 2 starting inside linebackers, but none of those moves preclude them from taking the best player on the board at 17. And that's the way the Steelers have always approached the offseason, and that's what new GM Omar Khan did as well this offseason.
Do you think that, I got something here from Mel Kiper Jr. He says the Steelers are going to take Deonte Banks from Maryland. You think that's the case?
Well, I mean, a corner certainly would be in play. I think, Banks is a late riser on some of these draft boards and mock drafts. You saw him in the second round, I think, mostly before the combine. Forget the exact number what he ran at the combine, Ralph, but it was like a 4.35 or high 4.3. So he did really well at the combine, and he's pushed himself up, maybe into the first round, maybe top half of the first round if Kiper is mocking him to the Steelers at 17. So there's another corner to keep an eye on in that same range. Emmanuel Forbes is another guy who's been rising up draft boards. You never know where the Steelers have these guys ranked. I think most people have Joey Porter Jr., Devin Witherspoon, and the other guy is escaping my memory right now. But usually the top 3 are the ones that people have mocking to the Steelers. But since the combine, since Banks had such a great performance and since Emmanuel Forbes had a good performance too, there's a little bit more chance that those guys could be in that range as well. And the one guy I forgot, Christian Gonzalez of Oregon, is the other top 3 corner. He might be a top 10 pick in this draft.
What's the future of Kevin Dotson and James Daniels? It seems like with these 2 new guys, we didn't see any of Jesse Davis much or Trent Scott last year either. Right. What's the deal with all 4 of these guys?
Well, listen, it's not good news for Kevin Dotson or Kendrick Green. Kendrick Green is likely gone, and he sealed his fate by not being able to play center. He's strictly a guard, and right now he's the 4th guard on this roster. So I don't think he's going to be here much longer. I think Kevin Dotson could be in trouble too.
Right, yes.
I think Seumalo signed for $8 million a year. He's going to be a starter. Nate Herbig was signed for $4 million a year. He's likely right now your top interior backup. So where does that leave Kevin Dotson? Are the Steelers really going to dress a backup guard, with one of their 45 roster spots on Sundays? I don't know about that. And you mentioned James Daniels. I think James Daniels is safe for now. I think he also makes $8 million a year, but if there's a way that they could deal him, if that's in their mind and they don't want to take on another big salary at guard. If they could flip him for a draft pick, maybe they would do that. But I don't know that that's in their plans right now, Ralph. Mike Tomlin is going to speak at the owners' meetings next week. So we might have a little bit better feel for what the Steelers are thinking. Not that he's going to come out and tell us who's going to start, but there might be some information that comes out of Phoenix next week when Tomlin does his media thing with the beat reporters out there.
Right. My next question to you is this: what are the Steelers at all looking at anything beyond Mitch Trubisky right now, Ray? I mean, for a third string quarterback, are they looking at that kid still from UCLA? Bring him in, draft him in the 7th round or something, and have him be a third string quarterback and some kind of a slash deal. Is that in the cards?
I think any quarterback who's going to be the number 3 guy this year is either going to be on a rookie contract, so it could be a late round draft pick, or it could be a veteran who's going to come in here and play for the league minimum. They have the luxury of Kenny Pickett being on a rookie contract, but they are paying Mitch Trubisky, $10 million in salary this year. So that is a significant salary for a backup quarterback. So whether it's the kid from UCLA or whether it's another late rounder, I don't see them picking a quarterback with any of their picks in the top 4 rounds. And, after the 4th round, Ralph, they got no picks in the 5th,
right,
no picks in the 6th, and 2 in the 7th. So it's either going to be one of those 7th rounders or maybe an undrafted free agent, or, hey, maybe Mason Rudolph wants to come back.
Yeah, I was reading reports about him possibly coming back.
Yeah.
And,
and that they don't have to decide that now. They could decide that,
down the road,
week or 2 before the draft. But again, that number 3 quarterback is going to be making like $1 million a year just because you have so much money tied up in Trubisky, being one of the highest paid backups in the NFL.
Yeah, Josh Jobs signed today with the Cleveland Browns, so that leaves him out of the fold because I heard the Steelers were looking at bringing him back. Let me ask you this, Ray. I'm not sold on this. I don't think we should bring back Bud Dupree. What do you think?
I think if Bud Dupree would want to come back for like $5 million a year, provided he's healthy, I would be okay with that. I mean, Ralph, they're in such a situation now. Their top backup is Jameer Jones, and I don't think that's good enough.
Well, what about Mark Robinson?
Well, Mark Robinson's an inside backer.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so Robinson.
They don't have no backups to back up T.J. Watt or
T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith. The only guy right now is Jameer Jones. So they have to do better there. So whether it's Bud Dupree or another veteran who's going to come in here and play like on a mid-tier contract, they need one of those guys. Listen, this is a very deep draft for edge rushers too.
I
think you're going to see them probably draft a backup outside linebacker. I would think, probably in the top 4 rounds, if not. If they don't do that, probably they'll use one of their 7th rounders, on an outside linebacker. I think it's a big need. We saw what happened last year when T.J. Watt was injured. It wasn't good for that defense. They need a better backup plan this year.
Oh, yeah, they do. Absolutely. I think they need to do something. Spillane's gone, and there's a few other folks that have, that have decided to take the high road here. It was pretty I didn't think Spillane would go, but he did. And, he must be some value to be able to go elsewhere, to the Raiders. And so, we'll see what happens there. Let me give you some thoughts on some NFL stuff just for a minute. What are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers to the Jets and Derek Carr to
Saints? He went to the Saints.
Yeah, the Saints. That's right. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Derek Carr and for the Saints, that's a pretty good match, right? I mean, I think his time in Las Vegas / Oakland, had probably run its course. They didn't really make any runs in the playoffs with him. He's getting into his, mid-30s, and I think, it's probably good for him and for the Raiders to move on there. And, you look at the NFC South. The NFC South, since Tom Brady retired, I think it's a very winnable division. So I think, he could help the Saints. The Jets and Rodgers, I think that makes the Jets better. But when you pay a guy like Aaron Rodgers, they're going to pay him $50 million a year or whatever that is. That's
Right.
going to eat up a big chunk of that salary cap. And it just, it limits what they can do in building a real team around him. And again, it's probably going to be a 1 or 2 year deal, whether, he's in, if he's not in his 40s now, he's close to it. And, he's probably not going to want to play, like Tom Brady did into his mid 40s. So
Right.
by making that move, they're saying they're in win mode right now, and they better be. They missed the playoffs last year. I think it probably makes them a game or two better.
Sorry to interrupt you, Ray, for a minute. Smokin' Jim is on now. So, Smokin' Jim, welcome to the program. Sorry we got you on late here. All right, Smokin' Jim's on. Ray FIDIPALDO's on with us. We're still waiting for Harry the Greek. And later on, we have Jerry DiPaola from the Trib. I tell you what, we have one great show tonight here. And it's great to have Ray on with us as well tonight to talk about the Steelers and the NFL and different people going in different directions here. Steelers signed James Pierre back. What's your thoughts on that, Ray?
Yeah, good depth signing. James Pierre is a good special teams player. He's a gunner on the punt team. So, if he makes the 53-man roster, he will reprise that role. He's a good special teamer. He's probably nothing more than a number 4 corner at this point. I don't think he really is going to figure into their cornerback rotation, but you pay him the league minimum to be a good special teams player. I think that's a good move.
What about what's the future for? Is Derek Watt actually? Are they going to shed his salary, or are they going to keep him because of TJ?
Well, he's an unrestricted free agent, so his salary is no longer on the books. I think he was around like $3.5 million last year or something like that. If he does come back, it won't be for that kind of coin again. It'll be for much less. And, it'll be interesting to see how they proceed there. They really haven't used a traditional fullback in recent years. Watt's been on the roster, but he gets like 5 offensive snaps a game. So with Connor Hayward being kind of like an H-back / tight end, I think he could ease into that role. And, they wouldn't really miss Derek Watt all that much. Listen, Watt was a very good special teams player for his time here, but, for $3.5 million, I don't think that's a luxury that they can afford much longer.
I see. Yeah, because you know what, Smokin' Jim and I both were, in regards to Derek Watt. I know he's not. He was used a lot more this year in the fullback package, as you saw. And then on top of that, he's a great special teams player. But for $3 million, and that's right, basically all he does. There's really not a whole lot we can do, and the Steelers can do in regards to that. As far as these free agent signings that the Steelers have done here, Patrick Peterson. Do you think we reached out and paid him too much, or do you think he's better than Cam Sutton?
No, I don't necessarily think he's better than Cam Sutton. I think Cam Sutton is younger. He's more versatile at this point in his career, but the Detroit Lions are paying him $11 million a year, and you're basically getting Patrick Peterson for half that price. Now,
right,
he is older. He's 33 years old, but, if Patrick Peterson can give you 5 interceptions in 2023 like he did for the Vikings in 2022, I think that'll be a good deal. But again, he's just a placeholder. They have to draft a young corner in this draft. Levi Wallace is in the last year of his contract. Akella Witherspoon's in the last year of his contract. They have no young corners who are up and coming on this roster, and they got to get that figured out here in this draft.
Yeah, your colleague Jerry Dulac has always said that Steelers need to get a shutdown corner. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean those guys are hard to find, but they need a good number 1 corner. Whether that guy's a shutdown half the field guy or not, they need a number 1 corner. Listen, Cam Sutton was very good, but I always viewed him as a very good number 2 corner. They haven't had that number 1 guy in a while. probably since Joe Hayden signed, when Joe was still in his prime. And even in Joe's last year or two, I think he was getting a little bit older, and I think he wasn't the same player. So they haven't had that guy for 4 or 5 years now, and they need to get back to that. They need to find a guy like that.
All right. What about what's your thoughts on this draft? Do you have a board put together? Like, who do you think do you think they really could pick in the first 2 rounds? Because the second pick the second round, they have the very first pick, which is a great pick. I know we discussed cornerback. You think they go offensive line after these free agents, or you think they move? They need defensive tackle help. They need to get a young nose tackle in here. I know Mike I call him mediocre Mike, but that's everybody's. Anyway, I know that he has spoken with a nose tackle, defensive tackle, and a few other folks. So, do you think that they'll bring in, or they're going to have to draft high? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's too hard to predict right now whether that pick at 17 is going to be a corner, O-line, or D-line. But I think you can make the educated guess that it's going to be one of those 3 positions. And if you just look at the strength of this draft, the deepest position in this draft is corner. So if you have 2 guys graded equally at 17, an offensive tackle and a corner, maybe you go offensive tackle there and you get your corner at 32. Same thing with defensive line. Not a very deep draft for defensive linemen. If you have an equal grade on a corner and a D-line at 17, maybe you go D-line and, again, get your corner later in the draft.
I see. What do you think? Do you think they're going to dig into free agency to try to get a defensive tackle or any kind of a nose tackle or somebody that's, Javon Hargrove was available, but he's gone, obviously. And I didn't think the Steelers were going to pay him what he was asking for anyway to bring him back. Tyson Alawu's gone. I don't see him coming back. And then, what about Chris Wormley? Are they looking to bring him back? And Montravius Adams?
Yeah, I mean, right now Montravius Adams would be your starter if they had a game to play tomorrow. Chris Wormley is coming off an ACL injury. He's probably not going to be cleared until July or August. So I think that is a signing that they can maybe do, in training camp or near training camp, should he be healthy.
Right.
I don't think they're going to sign another nose tackle. I think if they want to get another nose tackle to compete with Montravius Adams, I think they'll try to get that guy in the draft. If you look at free agency now, after Hargrave's off the board, after the first week, right now it's kind of slim pickings. I don't think he would do much better than what they already have in Montravius Adams.
I know this is a far-fetched thing, Ray, but there's a lot of people out there going on and on about how the Steelers need to sign Odell Beckham. Do you believe that to be the case?
Listen, people are connecting the dots for 2 reasons. They need a number 3 receiver, okay, to compete with Calvin Austin and Anthony Miller. That's obvious. And also, I think people are going back. When was Odell drafted? Like 15 or 16?
Right.
The Steelers loved him. And I think people remember those media reports that, Odell Beckham was very high on their board and they would have taken him if he was available. So I don't know if that's still true now. I think if you look at Odell's NFL career, it's kind of been, checkered. He's had some issues with coaches at various stops, most notably with the Cleveland Browns. I don't know that the Steelers want to take that on, but hey, I'll never shut the door on the idea, especially if he's not commanding big money, which he doesn't seem like he's going to. But I think keep the door open is what I'll say, but I don't know that it's a strong possibility. Let's leave it at that.
All right, Ray, thanks for being part of the program. I'd like you to come back on April 25th. I'm having a draft show. I have several guests coming on. I'd like you to come on and we'll talk more extensively about the draft. I'm going to break down some positions, some things like that. I think the Steelers should draft in the later rounds or in the second or third round. I think they should take Cody Mauch out of Montana. I like him. He's an offensive lineman. I saw him in the Senior Bowl. He looks like Jack Lambert's son or something like that. He has no teeth and long hair, and he's mean and nasty. And, I said this many times on this program that I think the Steelers need to get back to being mean and nasty. They really do. They need to get some, aggressive players. They need to get some guys who are mean and nasty and get back to that good Steeler defensive football. And I believe they need to do that on both sides of the line of scrimmage, because both ends of the line of scrimmage both need to be repaired. I think you'd agree with me on that one.
Yeah, if you look at Andy Weidel's history, the new assistant GM, that's what he did in Philadelphia, built up the trenches. And, I think that's a good topic. You have me back on. We'll get into more of that draft talk. That's a good place to start. Yeah,
I have a special draft show I do every Tuesday before the draft. I have a draft specialist, Joe Kuglis. He has a website. It's called, it's Draft 412, where he breaks down the NFL draft. I'll have him on, yourself, and some other experts coming on to talk about the draft. It's going to be an extravaganza of great proportion. So, Ray, thanks for being on the program. I appreciate you again coming on, and I'll talk with you probably April 25th. Smokin' Jim, you have anything for Ray?
No, good job, Ray, as usual. Appreciate you coming on, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. We'll see.
Thank you. All right, that was Ray FIDIPALDO of the Post-Gazette, beat reporter for the Steelers. Smokin' Jim, welcome to the program, buddy.
Hey, thanks, Ralph. Appreciate it, man.
All right. Let's see here. Let's go over the the Steelers signings here a little bit before Jerry comes on at 9:00. I don't know where Harry the Greek is. I talked to him earlier today. He said he was having some issues with his mom. He would try to make it on. I don't know what's going on, but we'll see what's going on with Harry the Greek. So at this point, though, but Jerry DiPaola will be on at 9:00. Talk about both Pitt basketball teams and also the football team spring drills are going on April 15th, 1 p.m. I plan on being at Acrisure Stadium for the spring game. Smokin' Jim, I invite you to come along with me and the two of us at the spring game. Boy, that'll be a sight to see, wouldn't it? And then it starts at 1 o'clock at Acrisure Stadium. I'm interested to see what these new quarterbacks are looking like for Pitt as well. And it was a heartbreaker the other night to see Pitt go down in that NCAA game. But you know what? They were fighters this year. So we'll talk with Jerry coming up at 9 p.m. All right. Let's break this down, Smokin' Jim. What's your thoughts on they hired Coach Jason Brooks as a quality control coach from the Ravens, and they promoted Denzel Martin to outside linebackers coach, always promoting from within, mediocre Mike, you know how that goes. And, so what's your thoughts on these hires and these and this one coach moving up?
Well, either get them good or get them gone. So let's see how well they produce.
What are your thoughts on this free agency spree here that the Steelers went on just recently here? Let's break it down player by player. How about Patrick Peterson? What do you think about this?
Outstanding.
Yeah, I think so too. 8-time Pro Bowler.
Still in the free agency that at the price they got him is incredible. He still got the speed, he still got the size, he still got the knowledge and the experience, and he's coming off of 5 interception season. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, if you can put pressure on the quarterback, which they can with Highsmith and P.J. Watt and Hayward, you don't have to necessarily have a shutdown corner because they don't have to cover as long.
Right.
Because the quarterback can't hold the ball as long. So I think that's Patrick Peterson is a perfect fit.
Oh, well, that's good because Jerry Dulac from the Post-Gazette quoted saying that the Steelers really need to go get a shutdown corner, either in the draft or try to find one somewhere. But, if you're telling me this is the case, I believe you because I know you're the guy. You're the expert at this more than I am, actually. But what's your thoughts on Cole Holcomb from the Commanders and Landon Roberts from Miami, the 2 inside linebackers?
Well, I'm more high on Cole. Cole's a fast guy. He can run. He brings enthusiasm. I'm surprised that they gave up on him in only 4 years. But I think that he's a guy that will be able to make some plays in the middle. He's not very big, but he comes to work every day, and he's going to inspire the teammates, and he's going to play with a lot of enthusiasm, and he can really run. He's about a 4.6 40, 4.5 40 guy. So I thought that was a good pickup.
Yeah, later on tonight, Smokin' Jim, you and I are going to break down all the free agents signed by all 32 teams. There's some interesting ones like, Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets and some other stuff that has happened in the NFL. It's been a crazy, what you call free agency thing going around here in trades, things like that, getting ready for the draft. It's a crazy time right now. Devin Bush signed by Seattle for 1 season. Do you think he'll do anything there?
Yeah, he'll be out of football in a year. No way he should have signed a 1-year deal. He should have signed a multi-year deal, got some money up front. 1-year deal, he's betting on himself, and that's a bad bet.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. It is. I'm glad he's gone. Terrell Edmonds is also gone too, Smokin' Jim, at this point. What do you think the Steelers can re-sign him, or do you think they just don't want to re-sign him?
Mediocre Mike loves that kid, man. So I would not be surprised if he comes back. I mean, who else wants him? If somebody really wanted him, he'd been signed by another team by now. He may wait till after the draft to see if there's some interest, but trust me, mediocre Mike loves the kid, and for some reason, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see him come back.
Well, you know how I've always said it. Mediocre Mike has this issue with these. There's these specific bums that he seems to link on to that he keeps on the team. The offensive line, I thought this Isaac Samalo and this Nate Herwick were some good signings. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know me. I'm not anything you can do to add competition is very good. I'm not as down on the offensive line as most people around the country.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they did a fairly good job being they stayed healthy, they produced.
Right.
And some of the young guys got better. So I don't think we necessarily need. I think we got a decent starting line. But if somebody can come in and upgrade, that's always good. Competition makes everybody better.
Okay, we have Harry the Greek. He finally made it on. Hey, Harry, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, buddy, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
My co-host is on the telephone here, Smokin' Jim Frazier. Smokin' Jim, say hello to Harry the Greek from Tampa.
Hey, Harry the Greek, nice to meet you, sir.
You as well, Smokin'. How you doing today?
All right. Everything okay with your mom, Harry?
Oh, everything's perfect, man.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure.
We got that honey-do list. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. Harry, the reason I had you on is, you're a professional handicapper. We'll talk about that later. But about the Bears, I see they signed, a lot of people here. They traded for DJ Moore. What's the Bears looking to do here? I know they have to get better. I mean, they had one of the worst records in the entire NFL. What's your thoughts on this, Harry?
Well, a lot of people don't know that this team actually lost 7 ball games last year by 1 score.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
They completely dismantled the defense. I like what they got for the first overall pick. I just thought they were going to do it in a little bit of a different way. I think they left a little bit on the table, to be honest with you. They could have dropped back to number 2 with Houston and picked up some picks, and they could have dropped back to number 4 and then got a player and some picks, and then, possibly even move back to Carolina. But he didn't want to tempt fate. Matt Eberflus and the general manager, they thought it was just going to be really good to just jump all the way down to 9, get a total of 4 picks, and you get DJ Moore. I
Right.
mean, it was really good. I like the offseason acquisitions. What are they going to do this year? They got a lot of money to spend. This team could very easily, and I'm not being a homer, I don't bet with my heart. This team could very easily go from worst to first.
Oh yeah.
Because of the of what Justin Fields can do. I don't like that they got rid of David Montgomery. I don't think they're done trying to address the running game. They did pick up a young man who's a very large back from Carolina. I keep forgetting the guy's name. Uh, the offensive line is going to be, something they're going to try to target. They are addressing the defensive line, but it's going to be a very interesting season. And I'll tell you what, that offense has gotten a lot better, a lot better.
Yeah.
Tunyon and
Also,
Komet.
too, Harry, not to interrupt, but also too, they got Tremaine Edmonds, which I thought the Steelers were going to take and bring him in here. His brother Terrell's sitting out there right now. Smoking Jim and I were just talking about that.
And they got the
before you
kid from
came on.
Indianapolis. I keep forgetting his name. It's Edwards.
Edwards, yeah.
Edwards and Edmonds. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you what, they got a hell of a linebacker core right now. Their secondary's been pretty good for quite a while.
Right.
They just have
Let's
to get a
get
little
into
bit of a pass rush. They'll be fine.
let's get into Tampa a little bit, Harry.
Mhm.
Baker Mayfield signed as a quarterback. I said this when you're always on the sports web with Peter Blake, and I said to Peter, I said when he asked me last Wednesday what's going on, what my thoughts were about Baker Mayfield, and I told him, I says I think it's a stopgap quarterback that can hold the fort down until they can build Trask or whatever. Is that correct?
Well, if you ask Peter, he's not a Kyle Trask supporter. Let's just
Right.
bring that out there. He doesn't really like him, and a lot of people didn't. He's an unproven commodity. Oh, he was a Florida Gator. Nothing ever came good out of Florida. Look, he's a second round draft pick. He's been an underdog since he was in high school. Okay, he had the fight to become the starting quarterback there. He had the fight when he was a starting quarterback at the University of Florida. So, do I expect anything different from him? No, I think he's going to be a very serviceable quarterback in the National Football League. But to
Mm-hmm.
address the question that you asked, I'm the one that said about 2 months ago that
Right.
the Bucks don't have the money to go out and go get a Carr or a Lamar Jackson,
Right.
that type of quarterback. I says they're going to look for that mid-tier quarterback, and don't be surprised that they acquire Baker Mayfield because they're going to get him cheap. And this is the point that I was driving home yesterday on the sports web, and people are losing sight of it. They did not pay him starters money. There's no such thing as a prove it deal. Okay. They brought the guy in for $4 million and $4 million in incentives. This is Kyle Trask's team. The only way that Kyle Trask is not the starting quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's going to be really simple. If he gets hurt or he doesn't play well in the first 4 games, it's that simple.
What do you think about the re-signing of signing of Jamal Dean and Anthony Nelson? They also Aaron Stinney. He's been on the team for a while, correct, Harry?
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, he was the starting center.
Stinney can play a couple of different. He can play a couple of different positions, but the Buccaneers still need to do one thing. They got to address that offensive line. And people in Tampa are living on this pipe dream thinking that they're going to take Tristan Wirfs, who is a Pro Bowl right tackle, arguably a top 3 in the entire National Football League, and say, yeah, it's no problem. We'll just put him to the left side. Well, what if it doesn't work out? Now you've killed his confidence. Okay.
Right.
The mindset that this team's going to have is they're going to run the football. They're going to pound that rock, and they're going to set it up to play the pass. But going back to your original question about Baker Mayfield, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure. If he comes out of the gate slow, Baker Mayfield can take this team and make a nice deep run in the playoffs. Because let me tell you something, NFC South, it sucks. It really does. It's no good, Ralph. It isn't any good.
All right, we have some comments here from Gary. He says, glad to find your channel. I grew up with Bill Curry. Always felt that I was watching the football show of the 90s. He also said, classic broadcasting sense, thanks to Harry the Greek and all your guests enjoying it, says Gary. Also, people in Tampa living with a pipe dream, LOL, the Greek is 100% right.
It's a pipe dream. I mean, do I think that they brought Baker in here to be the starting quarterback? Absolutely not.
No.
I don't. You know, if they did, they fleeced the guy. I mean, they
Right.
didn't show any commitment to this guy. I mean, where in the world is there another starting quarterback in the National Football League guaranteed $4 million? Just tell me one. What is it?
There's
What
a
is this?
lot. No,
2002?
right. Yeah, exactly. Well, we're paying Mitch Trubisky $10 million. I mean, here in Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
So I mean, but to back up Kenny Pickett, we have to eat $10 million this year in the cap.
Hey, I still
So,
think that Mitch
yeah.
Trubisky is going to end up being a really good quarterback, and I just think he needs to settle down. He needs to get his feet tight. That's just my opinion. Mitch
Oh no,
Trubisky,
I agree with you on that
yeah.
because I saw him when he played for the Bears, and I watched him when he played in North Carolina.
Yep.
And and it was he ate Pitt's lunch, University of Pittsburgh, when he played for North Carolina.
Yep.
So I mean, I watched him play, and I realized that, but I didn't think he would be that high of a draft pick, when he first came out, Mitch Trubisky. But also, I wanted to ask you, and I forgot to do that when we were talking about the Bears. Chase Claypool, what do you think his season's going to look like this year?
It's going to be a lot better than what it was last year. They really didn't have enough time to throw the football, and I think getting Darnell Mooney going to be coming back, and you have the young man that they just got from Carolina. I mean,
Right.
honestly, he's not going to be a WR1. He's going to be a WR2. You can line him up in 3 different positions, and with the acquisition of Tunyon, the other tight end, you got Komet on one side, you got Tunyon on the other, and you run a 2 wide receiver set. I mean, you're forced to run man coverage. So I think Claypool is going to have an extraordinary season this year.
Well, that's good. Yeah, because he didn't have that much of a season last year.
Nope. And you got a
Smokin',
second round
do you have
pick
any
over it.
questions for Harry? Smokin' Jim?
No, some great information though, man. Great job, Harry.
Hey, Smokin' Jim, how are you? I forgot you were even on the phone line. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah,
Why do we call him Smokin' Jim? I'd like to know this.
Well, because everything he says is smoking. It's smoking hot.
It's smoking.
Yeah. Smokin' Jim, are you ever going to tell us why you call yourself Smokin' Jim Frazier?
Hey, it's a long story, brother.
Is it puff, puff, pass? No?
ancient Smokin' Jim secret. There you go. So, but anyway, so Harry, tell us about professional handicapping. I mean, I know you do a show with Peter Blake on Sundays, and you're on Sports Radio 1252 Sports. How's that all work?
What do you want to know about gambling? What do you want to know? I'm
Me, I don't gamble, but I'll tell you, I have some fans that do that watch the show, and Smokin' Jim gambles.
I don't like to reach around and pat across my back. For the past 3 years, I have picked in an NFL football a little over 72%
Oh, there you
against the
go.
spread. It's been a very, very good couple of years for me. I've always had a motto: keep your bets low and your returns high. I've never been a big, huge believer in parlays. Teasers are exactly what they are. They're sucker bets. And if you're going to bet, just bet responsibly. And don't bet with your heart. That's the most important thing. And never chase your money, ever. If you want to know anything about gambling, never chase your money. And last but not least, I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week.
You know what? You sound like me. I used to say that all the time. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Oh, it is. It plain and simple it is. It's just so much easier to be that way. And I've also been a professional handicapper, and I've played horses for a number of years, and it's just it's a lot of work. It's not just saying something, oh, I just like that team because the quarterback's got long hair. No, there's a lot of work that goes into it, especially handicapping sports. It's hours upon hours upon hours of watching game tape and watching different alignments and looking at the injury reports and looking for certain scenarios just to find out that you don't like the game and you can't make a wager.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I also, Harry, while I have you here, let's talk a little bit about the NFL in general. Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, Garoppolo to the Raiders, and Derek Carr to the New Orleans Saints. What are your thoughts on all these quarterbacks and where they've gone?
Let's start with Derek Carr. Loved him for the past couple of years, except for this past year. I went ahead and rewatched about 6 or 7 games, And I've noticed that Derek Carr has been having a very difficult time throwing to his left, and it started about mid-season. Uh, the ball would bounce a lot. He just didn't have that zip in the arm, and typically that's due to an elbow and or a shoulder injury in his throwing arm, and that hasn't came out yet. So I'd be cautiously optimistic with that acquisition for if I was New Orleans with the amount of money that they spent because his arm strength is not there throwing to his left. Who was the other one you wanted to know about?
Garoppolo.
Garoppolo. Can he stay healthy?
Yeah, that's the question. Yes,
Can the young man
absolutely.
stay healthy?
Absolutely. He has
And
to stay healthy.
and
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers, I don't know. Is he in the middle of his 4-day retreat drinking kratom in a black room? I have no idea what the guy's doing. He reminds me of a 1969 hippie that
Oh,
just
man.
wants to have the outer body of experience. I've
Right,
never
right.
understood that. I think what he needs to do is give all that up, go to church, give yourself to God, and feel a lot better than what he's doing because what he's doing is just absolutely ridiculous. And he is absolutely, in my opinion, mm, I don't know what to say. I don't even want to put it out there because it's not going to be very nice. I don't have a lot of nice things to say about Aaron Rodgers, what he's done to that organization, and the way he professes that he's the best football player, debatably for Green Bay.
Right.
But I told a lot of people, don't expect this deal to get done that easy. Just because Aaron Rodgers says, "Oh yeah, I have full intentions. I'm playing for the New York Jets," he may not go anywhere.
So what do you think Carolina's going to do with Frank Reich as their head coach, and now that they got this the top pick in the draft? You think they're going to get better this year?
Yeah, they're going to get better. They're definitely going to get better. They've addressed they got Adam Thielen. I mean,
Right.
he's an older, he's getting on the other end of his prime. Um, but they remember, man, they still play defense. Okay, and the NFC South is a very, very weak division. So of course they're going to have a little bit of a chance. Do I think they're going to be better? Yeah. Do I think they're winning the division? No. And I think they're going to utilize that first pick from the young man from Ohio State.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, Frank Reich brought in Andy Dalton. What do you think about that?
Love Andy Dalton. I
Yeah,
think Andy
Smoking
Dalton's
Jim likes him too, right? Smoking Jim.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
big
sir.
Andy Dalton fan.
I love Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton can play quarterback. I think he's going to be a good leader for whoever they bring in there. And he's a nice bridge quarterback for this team, especially because that they're going to draft a quarterback for this franchise. But there's nothing wrong with Andy Dalton. He doesn't
No,
have the
not at
best
all.
arm. He's smart.
Oh
He knows
yes,
how to read a defense. I mean,
yes.
if he sees something really bad coming, he knows how to hand the ball off. He doesn't take a lot of risks. That's what I've always liked about him.
What do you think of they signed Miles Sanders? That's going to be a great acquisition for Carolina. I thought Miles Sanders could have been used more in the Super Bowl. What do you think?
Absolutely. I'm not as high on Miles Sanders as a lot of people are. I don't think he's going to have this type of season in Carolina like he
Mhm.
had up in Philadelphia. And the reason why he
Right.
had a ton of success was because of the threat of the quarterback being able to run the football.
Oh, okay. I see.
They're not going to
Yeah.
run as many RPOs down in Carolina, especially with Andy Dalton under center.
Oh, absolutely. Gary wants to know what your thoughts are, Harry, in regards to the WWE possibly getting into Michigan and gambling. What do you think about that?
The WWE.
Yeah, the Michigan wants to pass a law for their casinos, like in Detroit and whatever, that you can gamble on the WWE. What are your thoughts on that?
Listen, gambling is becoming very it's becoming second nature. Be careful. That's all I'm going to say. Um, the only I live down here in Florida.
Right.
Okay, I'm a native of Chicago. When it comes to sports betting and things of that nature, be careful what you wish for. Okay, I still think it should be held on by phone apps. I think that they should be held in the casinos. I don't agree with all of the facilities and the venues and all your football stadiums and hockey stadiums and NBA stadiums and MLB stadiums. They're going to have sports books respectively in every single venue. And I just think it's going to it's going to make a lot of these sports very crooked. But as far as WWE, I don't know much about it, but if they could bet on a coin flip in the Super Bowl, why can't they bet? Well, wait a minute, man. No, I wouldn't agree with that. Not for the WWE because it's already scripted, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. It's a public company. It's owned by
But if it's
stockholders,
but
and
if
I don't
it's
think the
scripted,
stockholders would permit it.
no, but if it's scripted,
Yeah, it is scripted. Yes.
okay, but if it's scripted, then it's you. No, I don't
No.
agree with that at
Right.
all. And by
Right.
the way, the stockholders will agree to it just like the National Football League did because there's money involved.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not millions, it's billions of dollars. Do I got a minute to expound on what I mean by that?
Go ahead. You
In
got time.
2002, when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went to the Super Bowl, um, Las Vegas wanted to advertise for some of the Super Bowl commercials, and the NFL and the commissioner went, "Nope, eh, nope, it's taboo. Can't do it." It's like Satan
Wow.
ran across the TV screen. There is no place in the National Football League for gambling. We don't want to be affiliated with it. In 2017, they addressed the issue again, and the commissioner's like, well, maybe, you know. By the year 2020, they're like, gambling's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's so hypocritical, it's not even funny. I mean, what's stopping a referee looking up in the stands in
Right.
the middle of a timeout doing one of these numbers? Okay. And that means give me 5 dimes that they don't make the first down on the next play. What's stopping them from doing that? That's why I don't agree with being so. I think they should make it a little bit harder. I don't think it should be so easy to be
So
able to
easy.
gamble.
Yes.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the other Florida teams, Harry. While I have you here, Jacksonville. They had a really good year with Doug Peterson. How do you see them progressing?
Well, I tell you what, I see this team as an up and coming team. They play really good defense. They're playing very disciplined type of football. They got really hot toward the end of the year. You've seen what
Mhm.
they did in their last couple of
Right.
games.
Yes.
They're still a couple of players away, and I got to tell you, man, they're going to be really up for the challenge this year. That's just my own personal opinion. They're a team that you may have to look out for, probably in the AFC.
How about Miami?
The Dolphins,
It's all Tua.
to a time, I think should have been over after he took that hit and he looked like he had the fence in front of his face, when he was laying on the carpet. I never thought that man should ever play another down of football. It's just a shame. I mean, especially with all the mental health awareness and CTE and things that are going on. Um, they are addressing the defense. The running game's going to get a lot better. They're going to be a beast. They really are. They're going to be a beast as long as they can have a healthy quarterback and be able to play a little bit of defense.
Yeah, they have Mike White. They just signed that quarterback that filled in up in for Zach Brown up in the Jets. Jalen Ramsey via the trade. They brought in David Long, the linebacker, and
Jalen Ramsey is not a blue chip player anymore. Okay, this guy is a shell of what he was. I
what
mean,
he used to be.
oh my God,
Yeah.
you can call him toast. Okay, but maybe he's left by leaving the Rams and going to
Mhm.
Miami. Maybe that'll revitalize him a little bit. Because to me, after watching a lot of film from last year, he got lazy,
Wow.
very lazy. And I don't know if he's lost a step or if he just became lazy. I'm hoping for Miami's sake that he just got lazy and then he can just turn it on because you can't turn it on if you've lost a step.
Right. Is Bridgewater still with them? Teddy Bridgewater?
Teddy, I believe he is still with them. I don't believe
Okay.
he's actually signed anywhere else.
Okay, so they have three reasonable quarterbacks. If Tua stays healthy, I think Miami can do pretty good. We'll see what happens.
Got to play defense. You got to play defense in the National Football League and run the football. You have
Yeah.
to do it. Those two
Oh,
things
that's
still
the
win
two.
Super Bowls.
Bill Cowher won a Super Bowl and won many games, and he always ran the football, and it was always play action when he was coach of the Steelers. And he preached it and preached it and preached it. And I've heard you on the sports web say it as well. And play action. If you don't have play action, your line of scrimmages stink for your offense and your defensive lines of scrimmage. Forget it. It's over.
I got to tell you, man, and that was one of the biggest things, especially with Tom Brady. I'm not trying to be blasphemous to the GOAT,
Right.
but man, let's just be real, Ralph. He didn't want to play for this organization last year. The Buccaneers forced his hand to it. Also had his head coach fired.
Yeah.
Now, I know it's not a very favorable statement, especially being down here in Tampa. It's like, you swear I raped somebody, by saying that. But the bottom line is he didn't want to be here. And shame
Right.
on the organization for Tampa Bay for letting him dictate what they were going to do. Okay,
Oh,
they bound them down to his contract.
Right.
But the bottom line is this: they didn't respect the running game. Last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers threw the ball about 700 times, and they only ran the ball like 330 times. But here's the kicker: 330 rushing attempts versus 700 passing attempts. Did you know over 2/3 of those rushing attempts came on first down?
Wow.
The last 7 games of the season, I didn't see one defensive player from linebacker, not linebacker, from corners to safeties ever peek back at running the play action.
I
Never
just
been
saw
one time.
your cat there, Harry.
Oh, that's that one right there. That is Bandit.
Oh, Bandit. Okay. Yeah,
That's
I got a
Bandit.
little Yorkshire Terrier. His name's Bailey.
Bailey.
Yeah.
I got
And then
4.
I know Peter's got Alexander, so
Peter has Alexander. Great dog.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hey, let me ask you this: when's Tampa Bay Ray ever going to get a home?
Tampa Bay Ray. Tampa Bay Ray lives across the street from me. Great guy, great family man. Works his ass off. Loves
I
the
know. I'm
hustle.
just messing with him because every time he's on, he's out. He's never home. So I always say, "Wait, don't you have a home, Ray?"
Yeah, we like to bust his chops a little bit too.
Yeah, I kind of thought so. Harry,
Where's Mr. Mancini?
yeah, no Mark Mancini with me tonight. He's busy. He's got a couple shows going on Blog Talk Radio. And then I think he's on later on with somebody later on one of. He's everywhere. He's even up in Alaska. I got friends up there that told me he's on up in Alaska.
Really?
Yeah, the Eskimos listen to him or watch him. So. But anyway, Harry, promote yourself. Tell everybody about your 1252 and your shows with Peter Blake.
Well, I haven't done a show on 1252 Sports out of Chicago in quite a while, but you can find me on the Over Under either on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at HarryBergTP. That's right, TP.
Right.
Otherwise, you can find me all usually Monday and Wednesday evenings on the Sports Web with the great Peter Blake. And we're discussing not only Tampa Bay football, but we're also talking about other football teams. Baseball season's around the corner. We always have special guests. It's a lot of fun. And Ralph, I appreciate you having me on tonight, bud.
Hey, no problem. I'd like you to I'd like you to come on again.
Whenever you'd like, buddy. I'd be more than happy to make that time for you, buddy.
Well, I'd like to try to see if I can get Ray on and also Peter Blake on here because I've had Leo Haggerty on. So you and Leo have been on here. So,
Leo, here, I'll give you the Leo look. Hold on. You ready? You'll like this one. Hey, you there?
Oh,
how you doing?
My gosh.
Hey, I gotta ask you a question, okay? Here, let me talk to you for a minute. I'm Leo Haggerty, little Leo. I love
Jim
Leo.
and I have had Leo on a few times. Oh, my God.
Leo is awesome. Hey guys, say hello to Bandit.
He is. Say hi, hey Bandit.
Bandit.
Say hi to Bandit. Smoking Jim, his cat.
Hey Bandit. Are you a Bear fan or a
Bandit.
Pittsburgh fan?
Yep. There we go. All right, Harry. Thank you once again for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You have yourself a great night, and we'll try to have you on again. Okay.
You guys have a great one. Be blessed, brother. We'll talk to you later, and keep your bets low and your returns high. Okay, guys?
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night because I'll be on with Peter Blake.
Absolutely. And right when you guys are coming on is when I'm getting off.
I know.
Right when you guys come on, I'm leaving.
I know. You're not a wrestling fan anymore. You said you used to be back in the day. Everybody seems to like the 80s and the 90s wrestling, but nowadays nobody is like.
I don't know anything about it, to be honest with you. I mean, that guy Dusty.
Or Cody Rhodes.
That's it. Whatever it was.
That's Dusty's son. Yeah.
You guys have a great day.
His other son, Dustin's in AEW wrestling.
I go back as far as, you ready? Dick the Bruiser.
Oh, Dick the Bruiser. Oh, man.
I was a kid. I'll never forget it.
I've been following wrestling since I was 5 years old. I used to go watch Bruno Sammartino at the Pittsburgh Civic Arena, and I Superstar Billy Graham, all them guys. Oh my gosh, Baron Miguel Cicluna. I can name you a bunch of them 70s, the 80s, the Hulk Hogan's, the Jerry the King Lawler, all of them. I mean, it's crazy.
Work
The
on
80s.
Hulk's car quite often, actually.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
No, yeah. He lives in Florida now, right?
Yeah, maybe about 5 minutes from me.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
That's cool. Yeah. I thought he was still in Venice Beach, California, but he's
Nope.
in Florida.
Right down here, he's got a little gift shop out on the beach too. He's got a couple investments, a couple of restaurants. He's good
Oh,
people.
that's cool. That's
Good
good.
people.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Hey, Harry, have a great one, man. Thank you.
Double it up. Hey, tell your co-host I said thank you guys for having me on. We'll talk to you later. A lot of
All
fun.
right, Harry. Thank you. All right. That was Harry the Greek from Tampa, Florida. Also, Chicago Bears. He reports for them. And also Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Smokin' Jim, what's your thoughts on everything Harry had to add?
Well, actually, I couldn't. For some reason, I couldn't hear the interview. His sound on my phone. I'm
Yeah,
sure
his
that
sound was kind of low. I
TV
should have told him to turn it up a little bit. His sound was a
the
little low.
TV
Yeah.
audience, I'm sure, could hear it loud and clear, but I couldn't.
Okay, let's get started here with a few things here. Pirates, they're now 9-13. They won today 4-3. They're creeping up on trying to get to 500 in Grapefruit League. They played the Phillies today. I watched the game, and they were able to pull it off in the ninth inning, 4-3. Opening day roster starting to come together. Opening game, first game of the year, March 30th. They take on the Reds, and then the home opener is April 7th against the Chicago White Sox. I think this is the first time the Pirates have ever opened up against an American League team at home. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right.
So what do you think about the Pirates as they start to get their opening day roster together? My caregiver today, he said to me that he thinks Mitch Keller's going to have a great year. He says he looks like he's coming around. I said, well, we'll see. He's been in the organization forever, and he still hasn't come around. What do you think about this team? I mean, I know we've had numerous discussions. What do you think?
Well, hopefully, your caregiver is right. How many players do the Pirates have in the World League? Anybody?
I'm not sure. I know they had Choi was supposed to be in there, but then the Pirates told him no because he had that injury that he suffered at the tail end of his when he was with Tampa Bay. And then he had to get surgery, I think, on his wrist or something, and they didn't want him to to get injured, so they told him he couldn't play. I know that Jalen Garcia's in there, and I think there's a few other guys, some of our minor league players.
Well, hopefully we can keep everybody healthy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The Pens, let's talk about the Penguins briefly here. I don't know where Jerry DiPaola is. I sent him the thing. He told me he got it, the invite. Maybe he had an emergency or something. I don't know what's going on with him. But he hasn't come on yet to talk about Pitt. We'll talk about Pitt as we go. The Pens have a 4-game losing streak. Florida Panthers have jumped ahead of them for the wild card race, and there's 12 games left in the regular season. What do you think the Pens are going to do, Smokin' Jim? You think they're going to make the playoffs, or what can they do in these 12 games?
Well, they got an outside chance. Either way, they're one and done. If
Yeah.
they do make the playoffs, but I'm sure as far as the organization, as financially, you always want to make the playoffs because that's a good chunk of money in profits for you. But the team just looks old and slow and maybe lacking depth. So hopefully they can suck it up down the stretch and turn this losing streak around.
All right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. All right. Let's get into some Pitt basketball here. As you know, they were in the NCAA tournament. I mean, I knew Pitt was going to be decent this year, but I didn't think they were going to be this good. I compliment Jeff Capel for putting together a team. He's going to be maybe losing one of his coaches, Tim O'Toole. He's interviewing for some head coaching jobs, nothing of major proportion. I mean, he's not like in the ACC or anything like that. What is it, Charleston Southern or something, or some other teams like that, or Harrison State Prison or something. He's looking to interview there, but nothing huge. He was the guy, the assistant coach for Pitt, who was able to put together this transfer portal and get all these players. He's a great recruiter. If Pitt loses him, do you think Pitt could go down, or do you think they can continue to go up?
Well, the one thing that Capel was known for when he was at Duke was he was considered an outstanding recruiter. So, that's his bread and butter. I think the transfer portal saved his job. I think that Capel would have been fired had the portal not come about in college sport athletics. I think he's taken advantage of it. He's a salesman when it comes to selling a guy for a year or two to come into his program, and it saved his job, saved his assistants their jobs. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then on top of that too, Smokin' Jim, some of the guys. Hold on a minute. I'm getting a text here from Jerry DiPaola. I'm waiting to hear what he has. What's going on? Oh, he'll be on in 2 minutes. So we'll have Jerry come on. We'll talk with him about Pitt football spring game and everything else. In the meantime, before Jerry comes on, let's talk about Duquesne. Duquesne was in the men's basketball. They were in the CBI tournament, which was the last tournament Pitt was in before Jamie Dixon left. They were in the CBI tournament. They bowed in the first round to Rice. I see a great future here, Smokin' Jim, in Duquesne basketball. We're going to try to get Tad Morey on next week or in the next week or two to talk about that, and also give us an update on Duquesne's football season for this year, getting ready to come up as well. What's your thoughts on Duquesne's men's basketball?
I don't know about the great future, but I think the portal hurts a team like Duquesne. They got a really good coach and it's a very hard school to get talent to come to because of their academic standards. So you always wanted to put a 4-year program together for your players. And now somebody can come in with the portal and grab some of your top players away, in their junior year. So, but I thought Duquesne had a very good season this year. Too bad they had to bow out in the first round in the CBI tournament. I think Pitt is a national champion in the CBI. I think they won it all 1 year.
All right, I got some Riverhounds news coming up, and we'll go over some of this free agent stuff with the NFL Smokin' Jim. But right now, we have Jerry DiPaola from Trib Live. Jerry, it's great to have you on the program.
Hi, Ralph. Sorry, I got a little busy tonight. Sorry.
That's okay. Say hello to Jerry, Smokin' Jim.
Hey, thanks for coming on, Jerry. We appreciate it.
Smokin' Jim, it's good to hear your voice.
Oh yeah, there you go, Jerry. Let's get to the as they say, the nut and the nutcracker here. Pitt lost this game in the NCAA tournament. I saw some poor shooting, and I saw they couldn't stop at number 24. What do you think was the issues here with them losing this game?
Well, Ralph and Smokin' Jim, the biggest issue I believe is that Xavier just a better team. A much better team than Pitt. They have better shooters. They have a better inside game, more experienced inside game. Pitt, in a lot of instances this year overachieved just because they were so together and they played so well together, and they really had a great attitude about everything to turn this program around. But eventually they had to lose. And Xavier's very good, and I predict Xavier's going to beat Texas in a Sweet 16 Friday night. Sean Miller's a great coach, I believe, Pitt, if Pitt's not hitting the 3-point shot, they really weren't until the end of the game, they're going to have problems. And, with Federico not playing because of the knee injury, and Guillermo Diaz-Graham tried his best, but he's only a freshman, and he's not as big as some of those guys underneath the boards not nearly as big as the big guys for Xavier. And that was the biggest problem, I believe. That and the fact that they shot the lights out in the first half.
Oh, yeah, it was great to see this team in the NCAA tournament. Capel really turned it around from the last few years. I hear some stories today about Tim O'Toole leaving the program. Is that going to be the case, or is Pitt going to try to keep him?
I think Pitt would like to keep him. What have you heard, Ralph?
I'm sorry.
What have you heard? Tell me.
All I know is he was trying to go after some head coaching jobs that he was interested in, some small schools, I think Charleston and a few other ones, that he's interested in being a head coach again.
Tim is a great motivator.
Do that.
Tim is I haven't heard that, but Tim is a great motivator and a good assistant coach, I believe. And he'll probably be a candidate for some jobs. There's always a lot of open jobs out there too. So I really believe that he'd be a good coach. And probably wants to be a head coach. That makes sense to me, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not.
I have a small question for you here. What's going on with the Pitt women's program? Susie McConnell-Ciro couldn't turn it around. Agnes Baronato had it going in the right direction until the tail end of her career. And now we had Lance White, who was supposed to be this big-time recruiter and great assistant coach down at Florida State. What happened with this program with him?
Well, they're in the ACC, and the ACC has a lot of great women's basketball teams, and he just hasn't been able to turn it around. He hasn't been able. He's a great recruiter, you're right, but he just hasn't brought in the right players. And now we're starting all over again with a new coach, and they're going to have to lose a lot of women in the portal this off season. It's not going to be good. It's going to be tough to find a good coach for this job. But you got to give Heather credit. In almost every sport on campus, other than women's basketball, she's done a great job. She hired Jeff Capel. The wrestling team has a national champion.
Right.
The volleyball team
was
in the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
Men's soccer and women's soccer also very, very good. They can't be great in everything.
Was even good too. I think their lacrosse team was playing.
Their second season. They've been losing a little bit so far this season, but the program is in good shape. The athletic program as a whole is in good shape. But it's been hard to find the right players, and it's not easy to do. As Jeff Capel found out, Jeff Capel didn't turn it around until his fifth season. It's going to take Lance White and the next coach a little bit longer than that, and that's just the way it is.
Right. All right, let's get into some spring football for Pitt. What's it looking like down there at practice? Have you been down there?
Yeah, I was down there today. I wasn't there last week, obviously, because I was in Dayton and Greensboro, and they started practice last week. Had 3 practices, and they had the 4th one today. We don't get to watch much. We get to watch maybe a half hour the beginning of the practice. But they're rebuilding the defensive line totally, and I think there's a couple guys in the defensive line that are inexperienced that's going to have to really step up. One of them is Kai Johnson, the defensive end from West Mifflin, who I think is going to have a good season. But he's also inexperienced. And Dayon Hayes. Dayon Hayes, I thought, played pretty well. He's a senior. He's had 8 sacks in his career. He played mostly as a backup. But he's going to have to step up and be great this season.
Absolutely. He's going to have to do that.
And linebacker, Savossier Dennis is gone.
Right.
But Brandon George steps in, and Brandon George is a big, tough, physical kid who was injured most of last season and has a lot of talent. And I think he's going to be not an upgrade over Savossier, because Savossier was probably the best middle linebacker Pitt has had in a long, long time. But Brandon George is a decent player. And it's all going to depend, Ralph and Smokin' Jim, on the quarterback. If Phil Dracovic is a real deal and he can play better than he played at Boston College last season, if he stays healthy, I think they'll be okay, because they do have some weapons. I think Rodney Hammond's going to be a good running back. Derek Davis, the transfer from LSU, went to Gateway High School. I think is going to be a good running back for them.
That's Smokin' Jim's favorite player. He went to Gateway.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
If Smokin' Jim likes him, he must be pretty darn good then.
You know it, Jerry.
But I'm telling you, it's not going to be. They won 9 games last year and 11 games the year before that. It's going to be difficult this year. They lost a lot of really good players. There's going to be a lot of players from that Pitt defense drafted this year, including Kalijah Cansey, maybe in the first round. Dennis will get drafted. I think Jared Wayne, the wide receiver, will get drafted. Brandon Hill, the safety, will get drafted. So it's going to be difficult, for Pitt. And they got to go to West Virginia this year instead of playing them at home. And that was almost a loss at home last year. So it's not going to be easy to go back, repeat, and win 9 games again. but you see how things turn out. And they still got the program pointed in the right direction. And if Panarduzzi recruited well over the last couple of years, he'll be able to replace some of those guys on defense. If not, we'll find out in a hurry.
Oh yeah, they even have a tough non-conference schedule. Other than West Virginia, they have Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's never ever been a pushover for us. We've always had a dogfight with them. And then
those games are on the road too.
I wouldn't sell Cincinnati out because Scott Satterfield's their coach from Louisville, and he knows about Pitt. So that's going to be tough sledding this year for Pitt, I believe. I'll be at the spring game on April 15th. I was supposed to go to Sugar Creek, Ohio, but I had to cancel my travel plans because I've had some issues over the last couple of weeks. My nephew's in a hospital down in Youngstown, Ohio, and I've been down in Youngstown for the last few weeks, and I just came back last week and at the tail end of last week. So, I had to cancel my trip to Sugar Creek and move it to September, Ohio. Otherwise, I'll be at the spring game on the 15th.
See you there.
Of the players for March 29th for the Pro Day, which ones do you think will make the best difference here? We got Gabe Hoy, Eric Hallett, Deslin Alexander, Owen Drexel, Marcus Minor, Jarrett Wayne, and Tyler Wiltz. Who do you think is going to make the best impact on the pros?
Well, once they get into the pros, you're talking about how they're going to play in the pros. You're talking about how they're going to do it at the Pro Day.
Where do you think they're going to go in the draft? Probably third, fourth, fifth, late rounds, things like that.
Well, I think Elijah Cansey has a chance to be a first-round pick.
No, I know that. I'm talking about the guys.
I don't know that he will.
Yeah.
At Pro Day, he may not do much at Pro Day. A lot of times the guys who did well at the Combine, and Elijah Cansey was great at the Combine, they don't want to do it again at the Pro Day because they don't want it would be difficult to match that.
Right.
So I'm expecting Elijah Cansey may not do much except maybe lift at the Pro Day. Just so the NFL will have his results from the Combine to think about rather than the Pro Day, which might not be as good.
Right.
But Cansey is going to be a high pick. I think Savossier Dennis is not going to be a high pick, but I think he's going to get drafted. I think Brandon Hill is a guy that a very athletic safety who's running the ball a lot. I think can be a guy who's going to play in the NFL. And Jared Wayne, they had a case of the dropsies a little bit this past season, but I think he can be a good receiver. He's a big guy, nice target, and I think he'll find a home in the NFL. Again, not as a high pick, maybe fourth, fifth round, but Kansas is going to be the guy drafted higher than anybody, I believe. I like Harvard Baldonado too as a defensive end. Maybe again, not a high pick, but he'll get drafted.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they're going to get high picks, but where do you think Izzy's going to go? I'm predicting fourth round. What do you think?
I tell you, if he goes in the fourth round, some team's going to have a great value because he's a big, tough kid, broad shoulders, who can run away from cornerbacks. If you remember the Tennessee game last season, we burst through a little crack in the defense, and a little crack in the defense, and he outran some of those SEC cornerbacks who are really fast guys. And he is going to be a back that a lot of teams. He'll probably run. He ran well at the Combine, and I think he'll be a good NFL back. If he could, I think he's going to go before the fourth round. I really do, because he has a lot of production. He got the ACC in rushing. I think he could be a third round pick, maybe. I'm not sure if we'll go to the second round. But like I said, if he goes in the fourth round, some team's going to be real happy with the value they get.
Where do you think Savossier Dennis will go? Same thing?
Yeah, around the same area, third, fourth round. Dennis isn't a big guy, but he can play both positions, inside linebacker and outside linebacker. And he has a nose for the ball. He's a smart kid. I'm sure he'll interview well because he's smart and he's funny and he makes a lot of good points, and he's a leader. And I think, again, he won't be a high pick, but he's somebody that's going to go somewhere on the second day, maybe before the third. Again, it'll be a good value pick if somebody waits all the way to the fourth or fifth round to draft Savossier.
I see. I'm sure you've seen some of the Steeler, the guys from the Steelers there, some of their scouts. Do you think they're looking? Who do you think the Steelers might be looking at with Pitt at this point?
All of them, I think. The Steelers are, like to draft Pitt guys. Apparently, they showed that with Kenny Pickett. I think that they need help at defensive tackle, and I think they'll take a long look at Elijah Cansey, and especially since the Steelers, have 3 picks. Is it 3 picks among the first 30
Yeah.
or 40 picks,
Have
maybe.
two in the second round and their first round pick.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe one of those second round picks, if Kancey slides, I think they may take a long look at him. Yeah, it's hard to tell, what the Steelers think about these guys. They're not going to let us know. But
Right.
they know a little bit about them because they share the facility down there on the south side, and they talk to each other a lot. They watch practice from time to time. So I think that, like I said, if they need a safety, Brendan Hill is a good option for them. And then the Steelers need wide receivers too. Maybe if they think Jared Wayne can learn to hold on to the ball, maybe they'll draft him in a later round.
Yeah, because Kenny Pickett wants Jarrett Wayne.
He
Also, I
wants
heard,
Jordan Addison more.
yeah,
But
Jordan Addison. Yeah,
he's not going to
that's
get Jordan Addison, I don't think.
I'm interested to see if he was there, if the Steelers would take him. That's what I'm interested to find
Not at
out.
17. The Steelers have bigger needs on the defensive line, on the offensive line.
I know.
And
But I'm
they don't want to waste
it.
that.
There, that
If he's there, even if he's there, Ralph,
there,
if he's there at 17, I don't think they'll take him.
Okay.
I really don't. Then again, if he slides into the second round and he's there for one of their picks, maybe. But he had his pro day today at USC, and the Steelers weren't even represented. Maybe they know enough about Jordan Addison that they don't really have to go to the pro day. But again, I could be wrong. We'll see what happens on draft day. But if they use their 17th overall pick on Jordan Addison, I'll be really surprised.
Yeah, I would be as well, because I'm not expecting them to do that. Every draft, and Smokin' Jim has even said it many times, and it's true, every draft has many, many receivers, and you can replace wide receivers quickly. You don't need to go in and reach. And I know the Steelers have reached. I remember when I had you on in the 90s on my TV show, we talked about when they reached for Edwards. Troy Edwards.
Troy Edwards, yes. That was a disaster. Yeah, that was a disaster.
Yeah.
That's going back a long time, Ralph.
I know.
We're showing our age.
I know, man. I know. Hey, we go back a long time, man. I've had you on my PCTV show when I had my first one there a few times talking about Steelers when you used to cover the Steelers.
Yeah, long time. In another life, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Now we have the internet, so everybody watches everything on
That's right.
reads everything off the internet now. Smokin' Jim, you have any questions for Jerry?
No, I enjoyed it. He laid out Pitt. I tell you what, man. If anybody is not a Pitt fan and they listen to Jerry, they'll instantly become a Pitt fan and buy some paraphernalia. I tell you that.
Oh, absolutely. Jerry, thanks for being on the program, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure, Ralph.
Come back on at the beginning of the football season, talk about the team a little bit more in depth after training camp. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Smokin' Jim.
All right. You have a great night. Thank you, Jerry. That was Jerry DiPaola of Trib Live. He come on. We had Harry the Greek on, and we had Ray FIDIPALDO. Smokin' Jim, man. Smokin' Jim Frazier. What a show tonight, huh?
Hey, great job. You put it together, Ralph, man. It's an awesome lineup of guests.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Always. Do you have a few minutes? You want to go over this NFL stuff?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I wanted to go over this NFL stuff. I wanted to get your opinion on what some of the guys were doing here. Some of the teams are doing. Hold on a second. I got to get this. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, there we go. Hold on. No, that's not it. That's not the one I wanted. Hold on. Oh, wait. Oh, there we are. There we go. Okay. Let's get started, Smokin' Jim, from the beginning. Arizona Cardinals. All right, they re-signed offensive tackle Calvin Beachum. We all know who he is. Played for Cleveland, played for the Steelers. What do you think of that move with Arizona?
It's a great move. It's one of the few guys that the Steelers really let go that was playing well here, wanted to be here, was entrenched in the community here, was really a good guy, Christian guy. Went to Lauren Mann's church over there in East Liberty.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Yeah. And so, and he's still in the league, and the Steelers see now that they really could have used somebody like that over the years, because their offensive line been pretty much in disarray ever since Beachum left.
Yes, it has. There's been a few guys that left that the offensive line's been in disarray. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, Arizona has a new coach. They have Gannon from the defensive coordinator from the Eagles. I think Arizona's going to need to rebuild this year. Although they did re-sign linebacker Kazir White, Will Hernandez on the offensive line, Corey Clement, the running back. They signed punter Matt Prater. They gave him a 2-year contract. Defensive end LJ Collier also. Atlanta. Okay, Atlanta. Atlanta's been pretty busy. They got Taylor Heineke for 2-year contract. They need quarterback help down there. Desmond Ritter, I don't know how ready he is down there in Atlanta. Marcus Mariota has moved on. What do you think with Atlanta here with some of this stuff?
Well, they got an insurance policy at quarterback. I thought that Desmond Ritter didn't do a bad job for a rookie this year coming in. But like you said, the jury's still out whether he's the type of quarterback that can turn around a franchise or not. Heineke, I'm surprised that Commanders gave up on him. He won a lot of football games for him, and the fans love him. So,
Right.
Good luck to him.
Well, I've said this many times on many shows, even some of the national ones I've been on. I think Ron Rivera's on eggshells this year. I think his job's on the line. They're about to have a new ownership group come in because Daniel Snyder's about to go bye-byes. And they gave up on Carson Wentz. Now they gave up on Taylor Heineke. And, the Commanders really need to have a good season this year for him to have a job. What do you think?
Well, people get on you and I all the time, Ralph, because we tell it like it is.
That's right. That's exactly right.
We're not going to shine the apple for you, man. We're
Right.
going to tell it like it is. And Eric Bieniemy, I thought he was an idiot for going to the Commanders.
Yep, you're right. You're right.
Like you said, they may not have an owner. By the end of the season, they may not have a head coach, and he's definitely going to be out of a job.
Right.
And he had it made being the offensive coordinator of Patrick Mahomes in the Kansas City Chiefs. So I don't feel sorry for him.
Oh, I don't either. I agree with you.
He's going to live to regret it, and people will be on us an apology again, Ralph.
That's right. That's right. No, yeah, you know what? They're going to be wearing bags over their heads instead of us. You know what I mean? Because there were some things I said last year that I said, I think I need to wear a bag over my head because some things that I said didn't happen. You know what I mean? But I'm usually, you and I, the thing about us working together is you and I are usually pretty right on what we on what we say. I mean, we back up what we say. If we tell it like it is, it's like it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Baltimore Ravens, the Lamar Jackson drama series here. They signed safety Geno Stone, cornerback Traylon Mullen, long snapper Nick Moore, and Justice Hill at running back. A small amount for the Ravens, but they'll probably go in the draft like they did last year. They'll have 200 draft picks. What do you think?
Well, they got to clean up their problem at quarterback. On one of our shows, I'll probably break the news on what I would do with Lamar Jackson. But the Ravens right now, they're in a bad situation because they're either going to have to keep Lamar Jackson and get rid of a lot of other players because he's going to suck up a lot of the salary cap, or get rid of your what appears to be your franchise quarterback, and hopefully you can sign a stopgap until you get another one. So who knows? Like you said, Ralph, before, with Master P busy. I cracked up for a week on that.
Oh, that whole, you know what, Smokin' Jim, let's go back to that. You know what? I cracked up laughing when Mike Ditka sold his whole draft, got rid of his whole draft just for Ricky Williams. And you know what? I'll never forget that. And then he lit up a cigar and he says, I'm going to go fishing and go golfing. He says, I'm done. The draft is boring. I'm out of here. I said, oh my gosh. And then every time Ricky Williams ran the football, and somebody on a defense tackled him. And I'm trying to remember who it was. They kept saying, "Welcome to the NFL, Ricky." You see where he ended up. I mean, so yeah, you see where he ended up. All right, next, the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have another Allen at quarterback. They signed Kyle Allen at quarterback. Not only do they have Josh Allen, they have Kyle Allen. So there you go. 2 Allens at quarterback. They also signed linebacker Tyler Matatevich. He used to play for the Steelers.
Well,
Remember
he's still
him?
in the league from Temple.
Yeah, from Temple. That's it.
Kid. He was tough.
Yeah, he was a good
Wow.
special. They had him on special teams a lot. But
Yeah, very good special team.
yes, he
He was
was.
a tackling machine
Shane.
at Temple. I tell you.
Yes, he was. He broke a lot of records. Defensive tackling, most tackles, and all that. He did quite well there. Yes, he did. Yep, he did. Safety Jordan Poyer for 2 years. They lost Jermaine Edmonds, Terrell's brother, as we talked earlier with Harry the Greek. Trent Sherfield, wide receiver, and running back Damian Harris. What do you think the Bills are looking like?
Well, their window of opportunity, man, may have shut. They got to pay the quarterback. He's one of the best in the league, and they found out their top receivers got childlike mannerisms, sucking his thumb, being mad, not talking to the media, walking out on his teammates out the locker room. So you got the chemistry problems. I think Cincinnati's better than them. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are better than them. And this was really the year, for Buffalo,
right?
Maybe to go to the Super Bowl. So they blew that opportunity. So I don't think that they'll ever be as good in the next 4 or 5 years.
Okay, next, Carolina Panthers. We had, a discussion with Harry the Greek a little bit here. They signed your buddy Andy Dalton. They signed Miles Sanders. Carolina has a new coach. They also have wide receiver Adam Thielen. They just gave him a 3-year contract. What do you think Carolina's going to do with new coach Frank Reich? And also Jimmy Caldwell's there with them and in Carolina. He's an offensive assistant. What do you think's going to happen there?
Well, Thielen, what an outstanding talent he had at wide receiver for Minnesota Vikings. John Jefferson came along and just made him expendable. But I don't know why Harry the Greek don't like Miles Sanders. I think he's a Western Pennsylvania running back. Got a lot of heart. I think he's going to do well.
Yeah. Oh, yes, he is. I think Philly's going to regret that he left, and they're going to regret losing Javon Hargrove too. I mean, San Francisco really gained a good athlete, and I knew the Steelers weren't going to be able to pay him, and he got scooped up faster than you and I can blow our nose. I mean, we
talk about that all the time. When you have to make room when it's time to pay these quarterbacks.
Yes.
I mean, the hustle in the National Football League is now to get you a good young quarterback, pay him under the rookie salary cap, which is no money.
Right.
And you got 3 or 4 years to maybe win a Super Bowl, because after that, you'll have to pay him $300-400 million, and that doesn't leave much room under the salary cap to sign anybody else. So Philadelphia is experiencing that now because they got to make room for Jalen Hurts. And so they're losing, very important pieces.
Yes, they are.
And
it's going to be a long year for Nick Sirianni, I think. Yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be a long year. I mean, it really is. He lost his coordinators, and you know it, and I know it. That's the blood of that's part of the blood of your team. When you lose your coordinators. And, I don't feel bad for them because they decided to become head coaches, and I don't think either one of them are going to do any good, because they only had one super season, and that was this year, So, and if they coach anyway like they coached in the Super Bowl, forget it, You think about that, Smokin. Shane Steichen had some bad play calls there, even though they worked a little bit, but he could have used the running game a little bit more. How many times did Kansas City stuff them because they kept trying to run Jalen Hurts all the time, you know,
You're
and
right.
didn't use Miles Sanders. They kept passing and passing. I said, where are you going to hand off to Miles Sanders? Let's go. You know what I mean? You know, I'm sitting there going, wow, you know, I'm glad I don't bet. I really am. I'm glad I don't bet. Once in a while, I get the wheeling feeling, and I go down there and bet on the dogs, and you know. But I'm not an aggressive bettor, you know, or nothing like that. The Bears, they got DJ Moore in that trade. Tremaine Edmonds. It looks like they're improving themselves, and then they have PJ Walker as a backup quarterback, but he's for 2 years pending a physical. So there you are with that. What do you think of the Bears? Chase Claypool, our buddy. What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what, life is about the decisions that you make. I thought that Chase got drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was a good fit for him. He was a good kid out of Canada, went to Notre Dame, came here and got with Juju, learned a lot of bad habits.
Right.
TikTok here, social media there. He had a great rookie season, 11 touchdowns. Man, that's incredible for a rookie. And it was over after that, man. Getting in trouble, fights in the off season, and now he's with the Chicago Bears, and they're not even looking as him as one of the featured receivers. You know, I think they just brought in the receiver to replace DJ Moore, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. They brought in DJ Moore. They traded to get the number one pick. Carolina got the number one pick now, the very number one pick.
Okay.
But the Bears will get their next 2 years of first round and second round picks. So the Bears came out smelling like a rose after they lost out to the Steelers with that second round pick. You know, because we got the very first pick in the second round. I like that.
I always like the Bears. You're building a new stadium now, and it's going to have a retractable dome.
Yes.
Because you know it gets windy. You know, I mean, you can't throw the football down there, and I like the quarterback.
Oh, Justin Fields is a good quarterback.
Yeah.
And remember, I told you Justin Fields' quarterback's coach was Rick Neuheisel the first year he was there. Wow. And Rick Neuheisel's a good quarterback's coach. He really is. Yeah. You know, I mean, he needs to stay out of the bar and quit gambling. But I mean, you know, he other than that, he's a good coach. I mean, you know, so former Colorado Buffalo coach and Washington Huskies coach too in college. All right, Cincinnati Bengals, they signed offensive tackle Orlando Brown. Finally, Zach Taylor's addressing the offensive line for your buddy, Joe Burrow. Linebacker Jermaine Pratt, he's a good player. Michael Thomas, safety, they gave him a 1-year contract. And safety Nick Scott, they just signed him to 3 years. And they got Mike Hilton. So what do you think about the Bengals?
Well, I just think as long as Joe Burrow is there, they're going to be tough. I don't think they have to pay Joe this off season. I don't believe. I think he got one more year left on his rookie deal before they have to pay him. So Cincinnati should try to load up and do everything they can to win the Super Bowl. I thought that the opportunity was there. I thought that they may have been able to beat Kansas City until all the Burrowhead stuff started coming out.
Yeah,
and I think that it got Kansas City's team and community fired up. It was still a close game. You take away the Burrowhead, and Cincinnati probably wins. So, you know, they let their arrogance and ego get in the way. You know, you got to finish the job. So, let's see what they do this year. Maybe they get home field advantage, and you know, go ahead and play for a Super Bowl championship.
Okay, next is the team that I had fun down in Youngstown, Ohio, messing with everybody. The Cleveland Browns. Oh, I was messing with them like crazy. I said, yeah, but at least we have 6 Super Bowls and we don't have a coach walking around with his nose stuck up in the air and thinks his doo-doo don't stink because his team was rated to go to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year a few years back. You know, and now it's kicking him in the head. He's an arrogant jerk. It's Kevin Stefanski. I'm surprised that Alex Van Pelt's still there. I thought he would move on after they've had numerous arguments. And, he was sitting by himself last year at the NFL draft, and nobody was with him. He was sitting at home, because no one can get along with him in the scouting department. So there you are. They signed Josh Dobbs today, which I thought maybe the Steelers might have been able to bring him back, but that's not the case. Maurice Hurst, they re-signed linebacker Sion Taki. He was a nightmare when he played against the Steelers at times. Ethan Polsick, their center, he's back. And Obo Okawano, defensive end, and Juan Thornhill. I think the Browns, and I think you'll agree with me, and we'll go through them real quick. They're going to be the same old Browns. What do you think?
Well, as long as you can run the football, you always got a chance in the National Football League, and they can surely run the football. They got a really good defense, and like you said, it's going to come down to coaching, and they've been coming up short in that area.
Right. All right, Dallas Cowboys running back Tony Pollard, they put him on the franchise tag. Ezekiel Elliott, I think, is a free agent or something. They signed Ronald Jones to a one-year deal today. Chuma Aduku, their offensive lineman. Brandon Cooks. Cooper Rush, they gave him a 2-year deal, $6 million. Well, of course, he played this year. Got to show his skills. Cornerback C.J. Godwin. And the player that the Steelers could have had, but they missed the bus. Leighton Vander Esch. I thought he was there, and the Steelers were looking at him, but they didn't move fast enough to get him. What do you think about Dallas?
Yeah, Cowboys are always going to be pretty good. America's team. I think Dak Prescott's better than most people giving him credit for. It was a smart move to move off of Zeke. He was a great player early on in his career, but the production don't match the salary. Pollard's a better back.
And Ronald Jones. I mean, Ronald Jones is no slouch. So, I mean,
no slouch, and they can probably pick up another
yes,
back in the draft too,
absolutely.
But they like to run the football. So, and they're going to be okay because, like you said, Philadelphia's going to take a step back. Washington's not any good.
Yeah,
Who knows
exactly.
what the Giants are going to do? So
yeah, we'll see what happens with the Giants. I think they overpaid for Daniel Jones. I really believe that. They should have gave him a franchise tag or something. I think they gave it to their top running back over there. His name's off the top of my head. The guy from Penn State. They gave him the franchise tag. All right, Denver with Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, right tackle Mike McInerney, 5-year contract, $87.5 million. Alex Singleton, linebacker. Zach Allen, defensive end. They re-signed quarterback Jared Stidham, who filled in when Russell Wilson was down. And punter Riley Dixon and a few other folks here. What do you think of Denver with Sean Payton this year? They're going to have to build.
Well, the one thing they got to get Russell Wilson at a Pro Bowl level, whether they're winning games or not. They got to. That offense has got to be productive, and that'll help. Bridge the gap to when they can be successful as a team. If that offense goes into the tank again next year, they're going to have to restrap everything, and probably, Peyton will be the highest paid non-winning coach. $20 million a year for coaches.
Oh, absolutely.
Crazy to me. Everybody's talking about Cleveland set the market by giving Deshaun Watson that contract. Well, Denver's setting the market by, giving a coach that could only win one Super Bowl when he had Drew Brees, and giving him $20 million when he's an old man. So, yeah.
All right, Detroit Lions. All right, here we go. I got something for you, Smoking Jim. Detroit Lions has signed defensive lineman Isaiah Buggs, and I heard the very first thing that he asked about was where the nearest strip clubs are. Now, I do know that there is a strip club that John Taffer saved out in Detroit, and it was called some kind of strip station or something. So maybe he can hit that. You know what I mean? You know, as far as strip clubs go. They have Cam Sutton, of course, and they have well, you know, they've done pretty good here. They re-signed a bunch of guys or brought in some guys. Running back David Montgomery got 3 years. So look out for Detroit. I think they're going to do pretty good with Dan Campbell. They did pretty decent this year. They're taking baby steps. What do you think of Detroit?
Man, they were one game away from getting into the playoffs. They might have been very dangerous in the playoffs, but the team fights and plays hard for Campbell. Campbell's an emotional coach, and you know, I think that how mediocre Mike is, the arrow is pointing up in Detroit.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to Green Bay. Well, Green Bay hasn't done a lot, and of course, they got rid of Aaron Rodgers. They traded him to the Jets. What do you think Green Bay is going to do this year? They brought back their offensive lineman Jake Hansen. They signed cornerback Hassan Nixon to a 1-year contract. They haven't done much here in free agency. None of their scouts were at the combine. So what do you think is going to happen here? I think they're going to fall.
Well, let's see what Jordan Love will do. Will he be the next Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre and Brett Starr and Majikowski? They had a good run there at quarterback, so he's a former first-round pick. They still got a couple good receivers.
Right.
And they always have a home field advantage, man. You know, you play in the Lambeau Field.
Oh, man. Between the cold and the crowd. Oh, yeah. Jeez. Yeah. It's the cheeseheads, man. They come out, boy. Woo. You know.
They have a chance, but they don't look good. I agree with you.
All right. The Houston Texans, man, have they been busy. And it looks like what's his name? DeMarco Lions. Yeah, their head coach there. Sometimes I lose track of these names. Quarterback Case Keenum, they gave him a 2-year contract. They brought in Robert Woods at wide receiver. Chase Winovich, defensive end, they brought him in. Shaq Mason, a guard, trade from the Buccaneers. Scott Quisenberry re-signed center. Devin Singletary, running back. What do you think of the Texans this year? DeMarco Ryans is going to really have to step it up.
Right. I don't think they have a lot of talent. I know they don't have good coaching, and the leadership is not there, and the ownership is not there. The coach would be lucky. He's been celebrated if he gets to go into a second year. That hasn't happened very often in Houston. Usually one and done as a coach. So they got a lot of problems in Houston, and I think it's going to be it's really going to take a great coach to dig them out in quite a few years. I don't know if they got the right guy in there to hear coaching.
Indianapolis, Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator from Philly, is their new head coach. He just signed kicker Matt Gay to a 4-year contract, brought in quarterback Gardner Minshew. What do you think of I think the Colts are going to fall this year too. I don't think they're going to do too well for themselves. They're going to have to rebuild. What do you think?
I agree with you.
Yeah, that's Jacksonville. You and I and Harry spoke about Jacksonville. Doug Peterson's their coach. They signed quarterback C.J. Beathard, Bobby Beathard's grandson, to a 2-year contract, and Trey Herndon, quarterback, for 1 year, and Evan Ingram franchise tagged him tight end. What do you think about the Jags, as Myron Cope used to call them, the Jags?
They got as good a chance as anybody to, make it all the way to the Super Bowl. They're that talented of a team.
Okay, Kansas City, your team, Kansas City here. Matt Nagy takes over as offensive coordinator. Offensive tackle Jawan Taylor, 4 years, $80 million. Edge rusher Charles Omanu, 2 years. Defensive end Sean Warden, Drew Tranquil, and safety Mike Edwards. What do you think the Chiefs will do? As long as they have Mahomes a quarterback, I think they're going to be in the playoffs and in the Super Bowls.
Yeah, I agree. 5 straight years of the championship game, 3 Super Bowls.
Right.
They're far from done.
All right. The Las Vegas Raiders and Josh McDonough. All right, here we go. They got Jimmy Garoppolo. They gave him a $67 million contract. Like Harry the Greek said, let's make sure he stays healthy. Jerry Tillery, defensive tackle. They franchise tag Josh Jacobs, their running back. They signed safety Marcus Epps to 2 years. They gave our linebacker Robert Spillane 2 years. Let's see who else they have here. O.J. Howard, tight end. Keelan Cole and Jaquan Johnson 1-year contracts. You know my thoughts on the Vegas Raiders. As long as McDonough their coach, they're not going to do anything. What do you think?
I'll tell you what, it's really a shame because, everybody loves the Raiders. And in Las Vegas, you can't ask for a better place to play. State-of-the-art, football stadium. And I agree with you. They just, how in the world are you going to depend on Jimmy G, who can never stay healthy, to stay healthy, So,
Yeah, and give him $67 million, man. That's something wrong with that picture, man. You better go to a church and you better kneel down. You better put your hands up and you better doggone pray Garoppolo doesn't get hurt. Because I think if he does, and I think if the Raiders fall this year, I see Josh McDonough not having a job. So
I don't know how good Prayer will do in Sin City.
all right, the Los Angeles Chargers. Well, Brandon Staley was criticized for his bad coaching this year. They could have probably been in the playoffs. They re-signed Easton Stick, their one quarterback. Punter J.K. Scott, 2 years. Trey Pipkins, the third right tackle. They gave him 3 years. Eric Kendrick, their top linebacker, Eric Kendricks. What do you think?
I love Herbert, Justin Herbert, great quarterback, franchise quarterback. If he can stay healthy and keep the left for the game, he's a Hall of Famer. But man, they're like the Houston Oilers was in the 70s, in the same division as the Pittsburgh Steelers, in the same division with the Kansas City Chiefs, man.
All right, the other Los Angeles team, the Rams here, and I have to say I was right again when I said that Sean McVay made the biggest mistake of his life when he kept going out and getting all these free agents and spending all this money, and they didn't have any money under the cap to do anything with last year, and they fell and gave up all their draft picks for all these trades. Yep. And I told you have to build from the draft. And I was right. And now Sean McVay got egg on his face. And I don't even know if he'll be there for another season. But what do you think?
Yep, you said it, man. You called it.
All right, Miami Dolphins. We talked a little bit about them. They actually signed a lot of guys. I think if Tua stays healthy, I think they'll be okay. They brought in that backup guy, Mike White, and they still have Teddy Bridgewater down there. So we'll see what they do down there as well. So anyway, next running back. They even have running back Myles Gaston, and they brought him in. They signed him. Minnesota Vikings are next. They had their coach McDonald is their coach up there. They blew it. He made some bad play calls in the playoffs and stuff like that. Excuse me, Smokin' Jim. Sorry about that. And quarterback, they re-signed quarterback Nick Mullins for 2 years. Kicker Greg Joseph. Let me look here, see what else they have going on. Not too much here. What do you think?
What team was that?
The Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, Minnesota. Yeah, they. I tell you what, man. I don't know how Kirk Cousins was able to be blessed with John Jefferson. I think
Right.
that was his name, the wide
Yeah.
receiver. Man, what a talent, man. Burrow had him and Chase at LSU, man. What weapons, man. This guy right now he's breaking all Randy Moss and Chris Carter's records, man. He's unstoppable. They know he's going to get the ball and can't stop him. So they have some weapons in Minnesota. I think Kirk Cousins is a good enough quarterback to get you above 500. Hopefully, a coach can get a win or two more to get them up to 10 or 11 wins and get them in the playoffs. That's about the best you can hope for in Minnesota, is a team that can get into the playoffs and lose.
Okay, New England Patriots. They signed Jabril Peppers, 2 years, $11 million. Connor McDermott, their offensive lineman, they re-signed him. Brought in running back James Robinson, 2 years, $8 million. Let me see what else they got going on here. Mike Gesicki, their tight end, 1 year, $9 million. Let's see what else they got here. That's about it. What do you think of and Juju? I forgot about him. 3 years, $33 million. What do you think about New England?
Yeah, very surprised. I mean, they brought in some real good talent. Very surprised how much they're paying Juju, $10 million a year. So Juju should be happy. You know, the coaches, Belichick's not going to put up with that. That social media crap. So Juju will be on his best behavior throughout the season. So he got a nice contract, 3-year contract. Let's see if he can produce in that offense. Every receiver hasn't been able to do well. I remember Chad Johnson went down there and he was very undisciplined in his routes and never seen the football in New England. So everybody doesn't do good. You got to be very disciplined. Your steps on the routes have to be perfect because everything has to be in sync there. And so let's see if Juju has the discipline to do it right.
New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr, 4 years, $150 million. I think they overpaid for him. But that doesn't surprise me. Jameson Winston, 1 year, $8 million. And Jamal Williams, running back, 3 years, $12 million. They got a few weapons there, but I'm not sold on them. I told you Dennis Allen is a horrible head coach, good defensive coordinator. What do you think of New Orleans?
Yeah, I agree with you, buddy.
All right, next, New York Giants. Daniel Jones, overpaid for him, 4 years, $160 million. Jaquan Barkley, the franchise tag. Darren Waller via trade. That was a good move. But the thing is, though, Darren Waller likes to catch the ball. Brian DeBoe likes to run the football. I don't know if he can block, but we'll find out. Let's see here. They also signed a few other decent people here, and I'm trying to see who they signed here otherwise. No, that's it. What do you think of the Giants?
The G-men, they now that they locked up, the quarterback Jones, they're going to start losing some pieces to the puzzle. He's making $40 million a year, man. 4 years, $160 million. It's a lot of money, to pay one guy. But, I'm surprised that they didn't try to give a long-term contract to Barkley. He gave his blood, sweat, and guts to the organization, and they just locked him up for 1 year. I thought that was a slap in the face of somebody. But hey, what can you do? It helps the Dallas Cowboys, that's for sure.
Okay, Philly Eagles, Rashard Penny, they signed running back. Boston Scott, 1 year contract at running back. Fletcher Cox, defensive tackle, gave him 1 year. Let's see, James Bradbury, cornerback. They don't look too bad. They re-signed Jason Kelsey on the line. Cornerback Greedy Williams 1 year, and Claudio's buddy Marcus Mariota 1 year, $8 million. What do you think of the Eagles?
Well, they're bleeding a little bit. I'm surprised Penny signed with the Eagles because they already had a few good backs behind. The running back that went to Carolina. But,
yeah. Miles Sanders.
So, Miles Sanders, and Penny hasn't been exactly healthy when he was with Seattle. So, they just gotta, let's see if they can coach. They're gonna have to coach their butt off this year. Like you said, they lost the offense and defense coordinator. So let's see, because and they had a lot of close games last year, and they were able to win because of coaching and talent. And they lost some key pieces, and they lost some coaches. So let's see what they do.
Okay, San Fran 49ers. Now get this. They lose Garoppolo. Purdy's gone for the year because of his injury. And they signed Sam Darnold to a 1 year contract. You think Kyle Shanahan can mold him into a good quarterback to carry San Francisco into the playoffs? And they signed Javon Hargraves to an $84 million contract. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, he was a great player for USC. So they're always going to. I think this is his last stop, 1 year. So we'll see. I don't know what the problem has been throughout his career, but
with the rest of them, look at Matt Leinart, look at Berkeley or whatever, and look at all some of the quarterbacks that came out of there that haven't done well or anything. Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith got a 3 year, $75 million contract. Also, you have Drew Lock. Oh, jeez. Here's a guy, played for Denver, didn't do anything up there. 1 year, $4 million. Devin Bush is there. What's your thoughts on Seattle?
Wow, man, you got to be happy for the quarterback. Who would have thought a year ago that he'd get that kind of money? I wouldn't be surprised if they take a quarterback in the draft. I think they got the 5th pick overall, don't they?
Yeah,
Something
I believe
like
they do. Yeah.
So I think they may take a flyer on Richardson from Florida, Anthony Richardson. He's not quite ready to be an NFL quarterback yet, but he got all the tools to be good. So, so Seattle's in a good position, man.
All right, we'll skip Tampa Bay because we spoke with Harry about them. All right, we're down to the last two teams, Smokin' Jim. Tennessee Titans. All right, they signed. Let's see here of any substance here. Not really. I mean, they signed some guys, but no notable names. What do you think of the Titans this year? I think the Titans are going to fall again this year. What do you think? Smokin' Jim? Hello? Smokin' Jim? Are you there? Smokin' Jim? Hello? Oh, we lost Smokin' Jim here.
Hey, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. What do you think of the Titans?
My earplug just died.
Oh, yeah, mine's been doing that too.
What team now?
Titans, Tennessee Titans. I think they're going to fall again this year.
They blew it, man.
Yeah.
Tennessee blew it big time, but yeah, I think this is the last go around for Vrabel. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. I think he's on eggshells this year too. They had a bad year last year, and we'll see what goes on. Washington Commanders, last but not least. We spoke about them earlier today, but they have Jacoby Brissett. They signed him to a 1 year deal, $10 million. They re-signed Tyler Larson, their center. What do you think of the Commanders?
Well, like we said before, it's a bad move for Eric Bieniemy. It's a bad move for Rivera. It's a bad move for the ownership. It's a bad name for the team.
It's bad all the way around, huh, Smoking Jim?
Yeah, I think they got a lot of problems, man.
Oh, yeah. Smoking Jim, thank you so much for being part of the program. We had a long show tonight, but you know what? It was a good one. It really was. I think this show, like you said earlier today, is probably the best one we're going to have for 2023. It might get better. We'll see. But we had some great guests on. We got educated and everything else.
I think it might be the best show of the year in the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That is right, but we just need to be picked up somewhere. So anyway, tomorrow night, don't forget 7:30, Smoking Jim and I talking wrestling. Our guest, Neil Haley, former wrestler who's getting back into the business. He has a talk show as well, but he's going to talk with us about the wrestling business and him coming out of retirement. Neil Haley will be a guest on this program on the Talking Wrestling tomorrow. Next week, I'm working on some great guests for Sports Corner. And don't forget Thursday night at 6 p.m., Sports Corner, live call-in show. It was rescheduled from the beginning of the month because of my nephew, as you well know, is still in a Youngstown hospital anyway, and he is progressing. He's still in stable condition. He's progressing slowly. So he's still there, excuse me, and he's at the Youngstown hospital. So I want to thank everyone for the prayers for my nephew down there in Youngstown, Ohio, Sean. Appreciate everyone's prayers for that as well. Smokin' Jim, thanks for being part of the program. I'm Ralph Williams for Smokin' Jim Frazier, and it's been a great 2-hour show tonight. Everyone have a great night, and thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next week.